Good evening, Wilson.
Aye.
You alright?
Respect. Hello all you beautiful people and welcome to Talking Souls here at Northern Undead Asylum. I am the Ant McPartlin half of your host team, Wilson Rebello, and to my left I have the Declan Donnelly by default, G.
Why, I'm man.
Now before we continue with my favourite films, games and pro ballers, we have a special bulletin. It's This Week in Gaming News! Google have rocked ethical behaviour standards in the gaming industry after ensuring Stadia developers continued support for the great progress they had made, and then subsequently firing them all 5 days later.
You're fired!
Lord of the Rings tabletop RPG titled The One Ring has been given the green light to publish a second edition. It has recently faced backlash and a lawsuit from an independent filmmaker who claims he owns the rights to the title of the game. Microsoft Flight Simulator has had praise leaped upon it due to its Great Britain and Ireland expansion pack. It has been noted as a great success, but we here at Northern Undead Asylum don't believe the simulation hype, as it fails to include typical things you would see on our colourful British streets.
So that was This Week in Gaming News. Now, as ever, I must pose the question that I pose each week. But this week, I will pose it with a difference. As I say, Wilson, what have you been playing this week and this week only?
I have a little surprise.
Oh?
This isn't a game that just I have been playing this week and this week only. I have a sneaky suspicion this is a game that we have been playing for this week and this week only.
Now, Wilson, do not try and control this podcast.
Well, I thought I would try and, be the director of this decision.
Okay.
And the Federal Bureau of Northern Undead Asylum decided the service weapon liked me just that little bit extra today. So I'm going to announce the game is Control by Remedy Entertainment. If you didn't pick up on the clues, that is, of course.
Yeah. Do you know how I knew that?
Pardon?
Do you know how I knew that?
Seized me?
Just channeling my inner Peaky Blinder. I must apologise this week. I do look a little bit. I have been at work.
Peaky Grinder.
Being a peaky grinder.
Yeah.
Never mind. So, Control.
Yeah.
Talk to me. Tell me about your experiences first and foremost before we delve into my own.
I tested the water on this game a few months ago.
Yep.
I can't remember what I was deep into at the time, but I put it to the side and said, one day I will return, and that day came, thanks to PS Plus. PS Plus gave the Ultimate Edition.
They did indeed.
And once I'd completed Ghost of Tsushima, it was open for me to, finally experience it.
Okay.
And I fell in love with it almost instantly. It is stunning. There's not a thing about it that's not massively drawing. You've got the art style and the direction throughout. Yeah. Not just the sort of the style that the oldest house is done in.
Yep.
I think the presentation is phenomenal.
Cool.
You get the big block white writing when you enter a new place. I think it's so graphically.
It impacts you, doesn't it? I think what the first sort of vibes that I got from it is that it feels a little bit like a put together sort of series. Sort of when I keep referring to it, I know I keep referring to it as sort of like it gives you that sort of Netflix series, that sort of Mindhunter, that sort of well produced, well polished episode of quite a instantly intriguing game. I have actually not got to the house itself yet. I am still around the bureau itself.
No, that is the oldest house. The whole thing is the oldest
house. Right, okay.
So you're up to you. I spoke to you before you were.
Yeah, so I've met the janitor.
So you're in maintenance.
I do take a much longer time to get through these games, for I doth have much editing to do at the turn of each Northern Undead episode. So yeah, I try and get the little bit of time that I get. I try and play as many games as possible, and Control has completely taken me. Like you, I can't say that usually you go and you'd say, oh, it's a Souls-like, or it's it reminds me of a Ubisoft game. This is quite unique.
Well, the only game you could possibly relate it to is Remedy Entertainment's Alan Wake. and I recently found out there is tenuous links to the series. Apparently they've kept them in the same universe. I'm yet to play the DLC, but that apparently reveals more in the direct links of Alan Wake and Control.
It's kind of bizarre because we did mention Alan Wake a couple of weeks ago and that had nothing to do with our interest in Control. I actually didn't know Control was by Remedy.
Well, another link, we mentioned Synchronicity last week on episode 5 of Talking Souls, and Synchronicity plays a huge part in Control. Whoa. And it kind of went a little bit full circle. There's a place called There's a place called the Synchronicity Lab. I was like, my inner sense twitched when I saw that. I was like, this is my game now.
So the combat is quite refreshing for a game like this. The atmosphere. If anything, I could say that it felt like. Do you remember the first time I played Max Payne? Which was on the PlayStation 2. I instantly felt the bullet time. And it was like almost like a refreshing change from stuff that you played before. I think the fluidity of Control, if sometimes does hinder the frame rate, but I believe that has been polished and ironed out on PlayStation 5 and next gen consoles. So obviously check it out on that before you sort of take that as gospel. But it's the fluidity of it and the way that the combat works and the way that it kind of interweaves and intertwines with the story itself, and it slowly reveals itself. I'm not very far into it, but I've done quite a lot because I am a person that goes into a room, explores it for 10 minutes and moves on. So I've read and I read all the lore and reveal all the back stuff.
That's a really clever, if you could call it a mechanic, a really clever mechanic of the game is the fact that it makes you pick up all these lore and these collectibles. And if you want to get a more in-depth story, again like in Dark Souls, you collect the clues to build the lore. It's quite similar, and I think that's probably one of the most entertaining parts about it is reading about the oldest house before you arrived there. You got all the research and even the book club. Have you found any of the book club yet?
I have,
There's a full series of correspondence between the books. It's absolutely brilliant. Again, of course, Twin Peaks, one of my favourite TV shows, if not my favourite TV show of all time. Nice. Sam Lake, the director, and I think he's the boss at Remedy, is a huge Lynchian, self-described Lynchian, and I think Control wears it on its sleeve.
Yeah, there's some real sort of oddity moments where you kind of turn the tellies on and TVs and stuff like that.
And the light switch.
The light switch is really
cool.
It's
the most Twin Peaks thing
ever. It is,
ever.
isn't it? You turn the light switch and you can go through to get the
Ocean View Motel and Casino.
Yeah, it's really cool, isn't it?
Yeah, fantastic.
It's really cool. I think another thing that struck me a lot about it is I think that if there's certain games now that have tried to segregate themselves from the usual crowd, and sometimes those games are not immediately accessible. They're quite hard to get into. I didn't find this with Control at all. I think you could go into it and not read the lore. You could kind of skip through the cutscenes and just do the combat itself and really enjoy it. Really, I'm glad that we've kind of played it when the definitive edition has come out, the Ultimate Edition, because there's a lot that I think is to be explored and enjoyed there, and there's a lot of I don't go to the internet a lot, but there's a lot of love for it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's nice.
I think the only thing that shocked me the most, and obviously as a trophy hunter, I noticed that the final chapter only has a 14.9% completion rate. That means that only 14.9% of the people who've played Control have completed it. And that absolutely blew my mind. There's nearly more people platinum Bloodborne than completed Control. It's not far off. It's like 12% Bloodborne, I think.
So do you think it's? Do you think there's any reason for that?
I can't really put my finger on it because game journalists, as I noticed, absolutely adore it. I think we touched on this last week when we mentioned that it was second to Sekiro in the Game Awards in 2019. Game journalists absolutely adore this game, and I completely understand why, because like you said, the mechanics are fresh, the presentation, the art design, everything about it is phenomenal. Now for the casual player, I don't really know what's not happening for them to complete the story. Not really, because there's
you kind of go through it and
you have to at least get up to chapter 6 to get your full arsenal of abilities. So you need to complete at least more than 50% of the game just to unlock all the whole back catalogue of stuff you can do.
Do you think there will be a sequel?
Now, my perfect dream, in my perfect world, the sequel would be Alan Wake /Control 2. Because Altered World Events, which is the second DLC, apparently focuses on the connection between the worlds, which reveals that it's part of the same universe.
Right.
So I think it would be a sensible business decision to,
are we going to get
explain
a Marvel
the universe more?
Multiverse. Do you think the reason for that is we were kind of discussing last time that Alan Wake may be a Microsoft exclusive?
Yeah, it has been given up now.
Yeah,
definitely.
Right, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Sound.
Is that answered?
That is that answered. That is that question answered.
Yeah, I waited for bated breath. I think for a couple of years, just sat on gaming news websites.
Yeah.
They constantly say that, Alan Wake's up for auction today. Will Microsoft let it go? And I think finally, after 2 years, they took the grubby hands off it. So thanks, Microsoft.
Yeah, we do.
Thanks, Bill Gates.
Vanquished the evil Microsoft Corporation in our travels. By the way, if you check back in a couple of episodes, you will have seen our long-standing fight came to an explosive end in the last episode, where we eventually vanquished the evil Microsoft Corporation.
It did.
So as we have both been playing Control this week, it's quite a short this week gaming.
Can I just do a little tribute to something that I think was really cool?
Can indeed.
EA Play, worth the money. 100%.
Absolutely worth the money.
I actually paid 79p for my first month.
Right.
And in that first month, I've managed to cram in UFC 3, Need for Speed Heat, terrible by the way, don't bother.
It's rubbish.
Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yep.
Downloaded that, and I think there was NHL 20. I've got 4 games worth 25 quid for 79p there.
There's some really good content with I think I got it for I think it's £20 a year.
Oh, you paid for the year, right?
So I paid for the year, and I'm a big Battlefield fan, so I've managed to go back through all the I was a big fan of Battlefield 4, 1, 4 and 5, and Hardlines on there. Wouldn't necessarily Hardlines, some people like it, but Battlefield 1 I am a humongous fan of, and I actually already bought it, so I wanted to go back and play the other games. I bought Battlefield 5, which isn't amazing, but it's still certainly playable. Also, obviously I'll get the FIFAs on there, and hopefully they will hear us sing, and they will reintroduce the Fight Night series to EA Play.
Get it on.
Yeah.
So that's my tribute out of the way.
Cool.
Yeah.
All good. So we move on.
Yeah.
Move on.
Do you want me to ask you?
Yeah, you can ask me, or I can ask you, or we can ask Ant, and you can ask Deck.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Donnelly, see Newt.
See Newt.
Or how do you say it in Geordie?
See Newt.
See Newt.
That's no disrespect to any of our Geordie fans.
No, the Northern, they can take it on chin.
But I have got you a box of chicken, and I do believe he has got me a can of 6 lagers. So we move on to Scene Out this week. Now, I'm pulling something out that I have been enjoying for quite a while.
Okay.
It is the great Anthony Bourdain.
Oh.
And his series that is on Netflix, which is called Unknown. Parts Unknown.
Yeah.
Sorry.
God rest his soul. Yeah.
God rest his soul. So Anthony Bourdain, if you don't know him, is a
very cool guy.
He's a very, to put into quite simple words, one of the coolest guys you could ever wish to have met. He's a big lover of music, a big lover of art, a big lover of culture, and a big lover of food. He loved to find amazing adventures, and his Parts Unknown is the quintessential series to explore what Anthony Bourdain believes in. I'm bringing this up because I can't say a dear friend, but a man that I worked with on numerous occasions sadly passed away last week. His Ollie from Berlin, who used to own a club that we have both played in, which was called the Bang Bang Club, and own a club called 8mm, which is
he was part of 8mm.
Yeah. So by far one of the greatest bars I've ever been in my entire life.
It's symbolic of Berlin.
Yeah, it really is. If you've been to Berlin and you've not managed to get to 8mm, when things open back up, certainly do.
Failing to mention as well, it's only like 80 cap, and I think that's what makes it more special. It's very small.
Yeah, all black with black and white screen at the back, and you get famous people kind of DJing there, including Anson Newcomb and stuff, and other select guests. So this series, I just wanted to put out. I just wanted to mention as honestly one of the series that I have utterly every single episode is is a new adventure. You know, he goes to a different country, different city, meets new, fantastically amazing people. And it's you know, something that we should all try and emulate at some point in our lives. Let's put down sticks, let's get out there, let's go and experience some culture. But you can do it firsthand and foremost on your couch, watching Netflix and see Bourdain's
Parts Unknown. Great way to, you know, set up a bit of a travel list during lockdown. You know, set some destinations that you quite possibly are ready to jet off to the second the shackles are lifted.
What about yourself? What have you seen this week?
I have seen it.
Yes.
Well, I have recently been dragging everyone along my top 10 favourite movies list.
Movies.
We've had Gummo, which is art experimental genre. We have had The Thing, which is one of my favourite horrors. Well, I thought I'd talk about a multi-genre spreading movie. The movie of all movies. You could traditionally say it is a war movie, but anyone who looks at this film a little more analytically would realise that it's probably the greatest film ever made. And that is Apocalypse Now. Specifically, the Redux version. I mentioned the Redux version because it's lockdown, and we've all got a little bit of spare time, and it's 202 minutes long. Now, if anyone's got, what's that, 3.5 hours?
3.5 hours, yeah.
It's a super long one. I think they added on 49 minutes from the 1979 version.
Wow.
Interestingly enough, when the cinematographer got back involved to do the recut, the Redux, he did this technique called Technicolor dye transfer processing. Technicolor dye transfer processing. And to do this, you have to do 3 stripes, and what happens is it saturates the colour and makes the blacker than black.
Right. Okay.
And when he brought, sorry, 1 minute.
No, go.
When he brought it to Francis Ford Coppola, he said, for me to do this, it would destroy the original cut of the film. And he said, I don't care, do it. So that's why when you put the Redux on, it's the most vibrant.
Right, okay.
The reds are so vibrant.
Yeah, there's a helicopter, the famous scene where the helicopters are coming in. Super
with
vibrant,
the Valkyries.
Brilliant. Valkyries. So that I think that is interesting, because I'm obviously into photography and a bit of film. My photography is it's all right. So I've got a girlfriend that kind of teaches me some good things, and she introduced me to. I know people have it on their phones, but the inner workings of HDR mode, and it actually comes from that.
Oh, does it really?
So HDR mode, you basically take a shot in a low contrast, a high contrast, and sort of normal, and then you put them together, and that is HDR mode. So it came from that. So that's really interesting.
That's amazing.
That you've actually said that.
Another full circle thing. I suppose I went down this little path as well because, you know, during lockdown, I think things get quite philosophical. You start, you know, obviously more time to think. Not a male's best trait, that, when they've got time to think. You know, we get a bit wild. You know, we just like it. I get up, I go to work, I play football, watch sports.
Make a podcast.
Make a podcast. And that's why women hate us, because we're so simple. But more philosophical. Back to the point. Colonel Kurtz's speech, which just gives me chills every time I think about it.
I think what we'll do is we will play a little snippet of it.
I couldn't agree anymore.
Enjoy it ourselves.
You can see the horrors of war.
We'll let's take a look at that now, actually, and then we can discuss it afterwards. So that was Apocalypse Now. Let's discuss.
Right now. Yeah, the speech is, you know, about the horrors of war, the human condition, and essentially he becomes a Viet Cong sympathiser. And, you know, you can kind of see where he's coming from, really. You know, when a foreign power comes in and starts napalming your old place. Yeah,
in fact, I was watching a film last night, actually. Now that we're going back onto it, I watched Zero Dark 30.
Oh yeah,
good film.
I
think it you know, it kind of it certainly doesn't sympathise with the other side. I don't know whether, I think that's where they get it wrong.
Yeah.
In some films, they try and make it out like they're trying to sympathise, but it ends up glorifying it.
Yeah. Well,
but I think Apocalypse Now does it really well.
That's the thing that makes this so brilliant. There is no hero.
Yeah.
You know, Willard, even from the first moment that you see him, he's having a meltdown in a hotel room from post-traumatic stress disorder. there is no hero,
Yeah.
and the more the main character, the hero, goes on,
Yep.
the more he falls apart, which, you know, comes to the end where he, spoilers here, you know, brutally murders Kurtz because he can't get it out of his head. But you're absolutely bang on with that. That's what makes it
it's
so
just
special.
some films have tried to do what Apocalypse Now did,
Yeah.
and failed miserably. I think American Sniper did the same. They tried
with
to
Bradley Cooper. I've not seen
Bradley
it.
Walsh.
Bradley Walsh.
Yeah, well, he kind of tries to make out that like he's a hero and that he's actually a fucking murderous cunt.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? You know, and I'm sure that, you know, I believe he's a hero back home, but in America, but he's not. He's just not. And you know, I think with the film that I watched last night with 0 Dark 30, it tries to portray that, almost trying to sits on the fence because there's basically torture scenes that were kind of reminiscent of what happened in Guantanamo Bay, and they tried to make it out like the Americans are doing a good thing, but all they're doing is just fucking waterboarding and you know, things that eventually it's not actually going to get, you know, the information that they need. I think they play metal to them for 3 days on the run. If they came back to me, I'd be fucking embagging some shit. But yeah, it's just I think some films get it right and some, you know, films get it wrong, where you end up sort of thing. But I think that's where I was kind of going with that.
No, you absolutely hit the nail on the head.
It features a better Marlon Brando than the Island of Dr. Monroe, and a better Sheen, not Charlie Sheen, but Martin
Sheen. Absolutely.
So I thought they were brothers, but it's not his dad.
Well, that's what you'd expect that from the Sheen family.
You would, but they're not. They're all called different names.
Are they?
No, so Martin Sheen and Charlie Sheen, they're not actually called Sheen.
Oh, are they not?
No, there's a bizarre name that we'll kind of bring
like
up now.
Nicolas Cage?
Yeah. It's
Who's
like
actually called Nicolas Coppola.
Nicolas Coppola. But I can't remember what they're called, the Sheens. They're called something else. But but I, for a long time, thought it was his brother.
No way.
I think when I first watched it, I actually thought it was Charlie Sheen from Hot Shots Part Day. I just thought he'd gone for a more serious role. But Apocalypse Now, we are sure that you have seen it. If you have not, you are missing out. And make sure you watch the Redux version. If you have seen it,
plenty
obviously,
of time to see it.
Just go back again and watch it again and again and again.
100%.
Watch Apocalypse Now and again and sometime in the future. Aye. So that is this week's Seen It. Posted up. So the next segment of the show, Wilson, would you like to introduce?
Yeah, we are going to move on to our request moment, not from you, home, the listeners, viewers, watchers, but from ourselves. Eventually, you will be given your voice to request these remakes. But as it currently stands, we are choosing some classics that we adored when we were little tiddlers, and see whether they would hold up in today's modern gaming standards. On the PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, or Series X.
So, is it me to go this week?
What you've got this week for remake requests?
Okay, so for remake requests, I dusted off an absolute classic. One of the very first games that I ever played as a small nipper. It was on the Sega Master System. Master System.
Forgive me here.
Yes.
What's the Genesis? What's the Master System? And what's the Mega Drive?
Right. So the Sega Master System was almost like the first interpretation of the Sega.
Right.
So it may have been 8-bit. So it's 8-bit. So I had a Sega Master System, and it had inbuilt with it Sonic the Hedgehog. I know a lot of people got Alex the Kid. But they released some absolutely amazing games. Like some of the games that that are still would easily stand up to the test of time because they were built on cartridge. Then came the Sega Mega Drive.
Genesis in America,
right. I think that is right. So it's called Mega Drive here, Genesis in America. Followed by the Sega CD, I think.
I have seen that horror show.
Then it is a horror show, and then came the Sega Saturn.
And then the Dreamcast. Excellent.
So I think that is a Sega.
And then came Yakuza.
And then came Yakuza, and all the they dropped their bid for consoles and went to games only.
And then became friends with Nintendo. Beef over.
Beef over. Basically, if you can't beat the competition, smash them into the ground with a Wario hammer. So Sega is now part of Nintendo. So I first played it. I know it was on Sega Mega Drive as well, and may have been on Super Nintendo, but I played the incarnation on Master System. I rented it from my post office, which you could do back in the black and white days when us Peaky Blinders
were about.
Peaky Grinders were about. And I rented it for the sum price of £3.50. I remember that because I never returned it to the post office, where I did a paper round, of which I was fired for. Pete, if you're out there, give a man a job. He needs one. But yeah, Altered Beast was amazing. I played it on this little square... Altered Beast, yeah. So Altered Beast on a little square pad. It was, I could transform myself into an all-powerful beastly being when I doth reach the top of my bar, and I would unleash unequivocal naughty rage upon bosses. You could tell my absolute enthusiasm lays deep in this game, and I would love a remake request for this. I think it would show that shower of shit that has come out this week. I don't even know the name.
Werewolf of the Man or something.
Yeah. Lycan, Werewolf of the Man, which has been universally panned for what looks to me like a PlayStation 2-esque era game. It can sit up there next to Cyberpunk 2077 on the worst PlayStation 2 games of all time.
What I love these days is
Cyberpunk?
They're paying the people to talk good about it. Yeah.
Well, it's a bit like one of them, when bands get the gear stolen and then everyone feels sorry for them. So Cyberpunk got all the shit stolen this week.
Oh, with the cyber attack,
Yeah, got some of the graphics stolen and some of the frame rate stolen.
They demanded a crazy ransom.
Yeah. They were like, give us 50 quid and we'll give you your frame rate back. And your graphics. And your gameplay. And your fundamentals of an RPG. I hope you get it returned, and I hope it makes it into the next update of the game. What about yourself?
Altered Beast, let me tell you, did you ever play it co-op?
No, I never played it all.
Only ever played it co-op because, truth be told, I've only ever played it on PlayStation 3. So, Sega Mega Drive Collection was released.
Okay.
There was like 50 games on one disc.
Right.
And Altered Beast was just the one that stood out to me. I never played it. I only ever had a Mega Drive, but I was far too young. Right. And the only thing I think I ever played was Sonic. So when I finally came to Altered Beast, it absolutely blew me away.
Okay.
And something that you said really intrigued me. You said you'd do it in a God of War style, where it would be like half linear, half open world.
Yeah, so I'd do it. I'd skip all God of War 1, 2, and 3, and I'd go for the God of War sort of remake. Obviously, amazing if they did any game like that. I'd take WWE 2K20 in a God of War engine. But that's what I think had really appealed to me. A sort of Altered Beast, third-person perspective of you be able to just unleash unaltered beastly rage upon enemies.
That's pretty good. I've got a little wild card for remake request.
Okay.
This game's been pooped on for a long time. In fact, one of the greatest video game conspiracies is around this game.
I don't know what this is.
Have you ever heard of the famous New Mexico landfill of what is described as the worst game ever made?
E.T.
Atari's E.T. Remake it! Remake it. E.T. deserves better.
It does.
It's a disgrace.
It does.
It's a disgrace.
It does. Let's phone home on that one, and let's talk about how you would. How would you remake it?
Just bring up the frame rate. That's it. Just make it.
But it didn't make any sense. So So basically, I think the aim of the game was to get E.T. from one side of the screen to the other.
To the other, yeah.
But on a lot of the levels, that was impossible. So I think most people were hoping that, if they phoned home, that they would be transported extraterrestrially to the other side of the screen. That never worked out for a lot of people. Yeah. And it absolutely goes down to this day as probably one of the worst games of all time. I've never played it. I would love to find out a way that you could play it.
Well,
and I'd love to do a video on it.
But let's just remake it.
Yeah, let's just me and Wilson will try to request.
Yeah, it wouldn't even be a demake. Have you seen all the demakes?
No, what a demake of E.T.
So someone's done a demake of Bloodborne.
Yeah,
and someone's done a demake. Well, it's not a demake. It's like a little comedy sketch of The Witcher 3.
Right.
Where Yennefer sends her. At the start when he's in the bath.
Yeah.
Of Witcher 3.
Yeah.
And she sends that bug in it, and he's like, like, you think they can catch me out? I'm Geralt, my balls are made of steel, bitch. And she's like,
it's a pretty good impression of Geralt. Yeah. It's better than Henry Cavill does. But
oh god. Yeah. So and then it turns into all chaos. This sketch. Watch it. It's really funny. I'll find a link. Or
amazing.
Something.
So E.T., the extraterrestrial, superb wild card there going into the remake request. We will do our very best to remake it for you on next week's episode. So that is remake request in the bin.
Send it down. 4-3 Kobe.
So 4-3 Kobe.
Yeah, we've been discussing upcoming games, trying to get a feel of what we feel we're most excited for.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, I would like to bring to the table Disco Elysium: The Final Cut, because in fact, it is the game I'm most excited about. I was super excited about Elden Ring, but now I'm just kind of sick of hearing the words Elden Ring.
Yeah.
So, Disco Elysium, which has an official release date, March the 21st.
Is that
March the 21st.
That's great. That's not too far off.
Not far off at all. Are you ready to play it? What do you know about it? And are you going to get it on release day?
I am indeed. So, there's certain titles that Wilson will interest me in, and I feel it is my absolute utmost priority to purchase the game and then to leave it sit there for 6 months until I get to play it. I am going to buy it on I think I'm going to buy it on release day, actually, because I'm getting to the point now with a few games where I'm coming to the end of them and I'm like, I want something fresh and I want something new. I tried that with Elite Dangerous. It is punishing my little asshole. And I'm,
Isn't that the scalpers though in the game?
Yeah, I'm getting bullied left, right, centre. I've not even got any money on the game, right? And I got given this job where I could go to a different part of the universe and do some mining. I did the mining, and they nicked my ship and left me. And I had no money and no ship to get anywhere. I tried calling an intergalactic Uber and it did not work. Funny, as I seem to do all the lifts for my family, and when I asked for a lift back to the moon, they were nowhere to be seen.
No.
So never mind. Disco Elysium, I'm definitely interested in picking it up. I love those sort of click and point sort of RPGs. I don't know if it is exactly that. It does give me those vibes, sort of Commandos 2 vibe. Do you sort of click and go?
It's a little bit not a point and click. It's like a really in-depth RPG. It's like a classic RPG. I think the thing that's most intriguing about it is it has a political spectrum in the game, so which your decisions affect your political allegiance. And I think there's also quite a lot of substance abuse and alcohol abuse, and the things you see can affect you. It's that in depth. It can really
So you basically the grinds of the story is that you are a sort of down and out cop who's a bit of a user, a bit of a dealer.
A murder's just happened at the start of the game, and you as the detective with you've got a sidekick or whatever detective's official title is the name for a sidekick. But between the pair of you figure out the murder. So that's the general premise. But I think there's some really clever mechanics in there. I've had my interest peak, so I've kind of left looking into it a little bit too much as to not spoil anything. Because I'm genuinely so excited. I've never played a game like this before in my life. And I think this would probably be the perfect one to introduce to me a new genre.
Did you play any of the old Broken Sword series? And if so, are you expecting to be like that?
I have never heard of Broken Sword.
Well, Broken Sword is a game that maybe you kind of like to pick up. I think you can actually pick up on the Mac, which you have possession of. So you can it's a old point and click. It certainly won't have dated, really, to be honest. It's literally those sort of pan screens, which is like Resident Evil, where it is one camera angle. So they can actually put some decent textures in and stuff like that, and you kind of traverse through it. Broken Sword was a sort of a sleuth solving puzzles.
Oh, that sounds brilliant.
So you might want to pick that up, but I think Disco Elysium is it's pretty much like me saying I'm going to play Commandos 2 when Desperados 3 is out. It's like there's a lot more to these games now, and I think it's a game that I certainly will be picking up. I love those sort of in-depth RPGs. Wish I had the time to invest more time into them. I think Bloodborne was the last game that I really threw myself on
invested into.
Whereas games like Mortal Shell seem to be a bit more to my taste and liking at the moment because I can kind of bash through it and get through. But we'll see.
Understandable.
So when is it out?
March the 21st. Might be wrong, might be right.
So
there'll be a green light.
That's specifically for PlayStation, Xbox.
Yeah, PlayStation and Xbox. Obviously, it's been out on PC for nearly a year. I think was it October 2020? It came out maybe. So it's had a decent. It might have even been longer than that.
It gets incredible reviews. Sort of 10 out of 10 out of the park and sort of game of the year.
It definitely won awards.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So yeah, I'm super excited for it, and I'm going to be getting down for it.
So
in terms of a wild card, Hogwarts Legacy. Are you ready to go to?
Hogwarts, what the new PlayStation 5?
Yeah, so you create a character and you go to Hogwarts and you get down and jiggy and then.
I know that a lot of people will be so into that. It will be unbelievable. I was quite a latecomer to the whole Harry Potter thing. So I worked at WH Smith when they released some of the books, and it was king hell on earth.
I can imagine. I was there at midnight for the 6th one.
They were probably cringe. Yeah, so I'd read all the Lord of the Rings book, and I thought that it would be a direct copy of that. I don't know why I thought that. I just, saw all these.
Well, massive fantasy.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'd never even thought out of the box of Lord of the Rings, but I just thought it was. And eventually I watched the films, and then eventually I went back and read one of the books, and I really, really enjoyed it. I think that whole world that they created there is fantastical. It's great. I would probably love this game 10 years ago. I may be drawn to it yet, and I may be all over it, but I may wait until it comes down into the sale bin.
Definitely.
Before I...
it's not definitely not a release day purchase.
No, I can't say that. If I was wandering around Hogwarts with a broom and as a character that I had made, I would presume as a child, then my girlfriend may be a little bit disturbed.
I think the only thing that really draws me to wanting to play this game is, in terms of remake request, I used to thoroughly enjoy the Harry Potters on PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2.
Okay.
The first couple of games from the first 2 films, the first 2 books, they were really good fun.
Yeah.
I was.
So will you be playing it?
I'll definitely be playing it, but I certainly won't be.
You've got young children as well in your house as well, so
it gives me a little bit more of an excuse to purchase it. Yeah.
I think if I was playing Harry Potter at 3 o'clock in the morning, I think I'd get booted out. But
what are you doing? Just doing Quidditch lessons.
Yeah,
chill out.
Quidditch lessons, yeah.
But chill out. I'm going to poetry. What's it called? The potion making.
What I'll do is I'll create a character that is basically Ian Brown. And just walk around Hogwarts telling people how vaccinations don't work, and
J.K. Rowling could write herself in and start transphobing on people.
Transphobing. Yeah, I don't really want to give that bitch any more money. So
J.K. Rowling played Last of Us 2 and did a horrible tweet about it.
But did she really?
No, but see, that's how believable it is. So believable. It's believable. That's what you've created, J.K.
That's what you've created.
He was on top of the world.
Fear that you've done that. So I think that's this week's remake requests and future games of future past boxed off.
Yeah.
Join us after this very short break from our sponsor when we will box off things in the Grand Archives. What the...
Have you turned it off?
What was that? What was that, man?
He's not giving us any cheap work anymore. It's a disgrace, that.
Was that? It was fucking John Van Queef. It was Queefy. It was.
How was he?
He got us that. Right, anyway.
Let's get it back on. We've got it rolling. Sorry about that,
everyone.
That is highly inappropriate, that sponsor.
We will be filtering our sponsors from now on.
Which means we'll be back to being skint again.
Just go and make a note of that.
Okay. So, while he makes a note, I'll entertain you with a few facts and figures about Northern Undead Asylum. Currently up to episode 6 in season 2. Things are going well. A couple of interesting articles coming up recently. And that pretty much, wraps up this little break. You ready?
I've just bought one. I just want to see what it's all about, to be honest, but never mind. Anyway, we move on.
Yeah.
My review on that will be coming next week. Anyway, so It is the final part of the show.
Yeah.
The part that was going to stay, then wasn't going to stay.
And then found new life.
And then found that which has no life. I got my way, and we are thrilled to once again introduce the best segments of the show, the Grand Archives. And then cue epic intro that took me about 6 weeks to compile.
It's really good.
It is really good.
Do you have anything for the Grand Archives? Because I've got a cracker this week.
Do you know what? For the Grand Archives, I have not. I've been back doing my silly applications, so I have not got anything for the Grand Archives this week.
That's fine. Let me tell you about a little book I was given back yonder. It's called Save the Cat by Blake Snyder. Now, anyone who has an interest in filmmaking or screenwriting will absolutely 100% know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
It's a screenwriting guidebook, and stick with me here, written by the director and writer of Stop or My Mum Will Shoot. Wait, let me tell you about it first. I know it's a terrible film, I know Sylvester Stallone, one of Sylvester Stallone's worst performances, but Blake Snyder's Save the Cat is the OG of how to write a screenplay book. It's amazing. Charlie Kaufman's done some good stuff, really, but this Blake Snyder book is known by everybody in the filming industry.
Okay.
And funnily enough, I knew someone who used to write for Shameless, one of the writers, and I wrote a screenplay myself as a budding filmmaker when I was 17 years old.
The man is talented, people.
And nobody's read my script yet. It might be terrible, but he gave me this book, and he said, if you want to write a screenplay, I'll give you 2 books. I'll give you On Writing by Stephen King, which is really good autobiography. Yeah. It gives you an in-depth of how he became the king of horror. Yeah. And Blake Snyder, Save the Cat. Now, Save the Cat is a term used in film where a hero is. How do I explain this? You find out who a hero is at the start of the film by an action they do.
Right.
Now, it normally starts with a bad action, and the most perfect example of this is Aladdin. So at the start of Aladdin, he is steals an apple.
Yeah.
And he runs across the town getting chased by guards.
Yes.
What does he do with the apple?
He gives it to a monkey.
Well, he gives it to a little boy. The monkey steals one.
Oh, the monkey
He gives a little boy an apple.
I did know that.
Yeah, and that is called saving the cat. That's
okay.
what it is. So in the instance of Aladdin starting, you instantly know that Aladdin's the goodie, a hero.
Okay.
And apparently, a lot of films do this. You'll probably try and look for save the cat moments now.
That's gonna really bone blood.
Yeah,
I'm going to be doing it all the time.
Yeah, ever since you kind of spot it when that's good screenplay writing though.
Right,
when it's not as obvious.
Yeah.
Or you can spot it out, and it kind of breaks down the way a film should go.
Okay.
Into 14 points, and it's absolutely amazing for anyone who has an interest in anything. In that realm, I couldn't suggest it more.
Well, as a person that wears a polo neck, I think you should pass that book on to me.
Definitely.
Yes, and I can write many a screenplay.
Yeah, we used to do show and tell. Unfortunately, when you actually want to get your hands on a book, I didn't bring it.
It's okay. He brought a harmonica though, and he can play it.
Now?
Yeah, you can play it now.
What side is it?
Wilson, stop messing around.
That was actually funny.
That was on the cusp as well. See, we don't write the jokes into Northern Undead Asylum. They just keep coming.
Yeah, performing monkey.
So that is... that's kind of the Grand Archives boxed off. And I think that is this week's episode of Northern Undead Asylum coming to yet another sunny close. We have enjoyed your company. We hope that you have enjoyed ours. Join us next week. And in the meantime, like, subscribe, and...
Enjoy.
Good night.
Tonight.